This is the story of John Jones, a well-known person who ventured near Utah Lake into a cave with the intent of exploration. During his exploration, he decided to attempt a record by squeezing into the narrowest part of the cave. Little did he know that this decision would be the last one of his life. He was moving forward through the tight, winding passages of a cave called Nutty Putty, but he took a wrong turn and ended up in a part of the cave where no one had ever gone before. The passage was as tight as a coffin, where it was nearly impossible to even breathe, let alone move. Unfortunately, John got stuck upside down in this claustrophobic space. This is the tragic story of 26-year-old John Jones, whose final 27 hours were spent trapped in this cave. Welcome once again to Climax Videos. Near Salt Lake City in Utah, there are small rock formations that house the Nutty Putty Cave, a hydrothermal cave discovered in 1960 by a man named Dale Green. Since then, thousands of adventurers have come here to test their skills. The Nutty Putty Cave is famous for its narrow, slippery, and winding passages, with only one entry point that is just 30 inches wide. Only those whose chest and waist measurements are less than 30 inches can enter the cave. Every year, around 20,000 people came here to test their abilities. However, from 1999 to 2004, some accidents occurred, raising concerns about the cave's safety. On one occasion, a 23-year-old man was stuck deep inside the cave for 6 hours, and on another occasion, someone was trapped upside down overnight. Because of these incidents, the authorities closed the Nutty Putty Cave in 2006. Professional cavers argued that the cave should only be closed to inexperienced adventurers, as it was usually these people who got trapped. On the other hand, officials claimed that Nutty Putty Cave was like a ticking time bomb that could take a life at any moment. The debate between professionals and officials continued until 2007, when the cave was reopened with new rules. A management committee was formed, which would only allow experienced cavers with proper equipment into the cave. To enter Nutty Putty, one had to apply for a permit 21 days in advance. John Jones and his brother Josh, both from Salt Lake City, applied for such a permit. On November 24, 2009 at 8 p.m., 26-year-old John entered the Nutty Putty Cave system with his group. The two brothers had some prior caving experience, but it was their first time in Nutty Putty. Everything was normal for the first hour as they explored the biggest cavity of the cave, known as the Big Slide. But this was the point when John, Josh, and two of their friends decided to take a dangerous risk by going deeper into the cave, attempting to reach its most difficult section called the birth canal. The birth canal is extremely narrow, and very few people have ever reached it. Not only is it incredibly tight, but finding the path to it is also tricky. Many people have been stuck on the way to the birth canal in the past. John, his brother, and two friends, who were all in good shape, decided to go ahead, while the rest of the team stayed behind. It was John's idea to attempt the birth canal, and he was leading the group. As he crawled on his stomach through the tight passage, he thought he was entering the birth canal, but unknowingly took a wrong turn and ended up in a path called Corkscrew. This was a place where only the slimmest cavers could venture. According to the cave map, John should have taken a right turn towards the birth canal, but instead, he took a left. As he moved forward, the path became even tighter, and now he couldn't turn back. Still, he kept going, hoping that the passage would widen ahead, allowing him to turn around. He saw a narrow section ahead and thought it would give him the chance to reverse. But as bad luck would have it, when he entered a 10 by 18-inch space, he realized it was a dead end. John was now stuck upside down in a space as tight as a washing machine, with his head below and legs above, his arms pinned against his body, unable to move at all. John tried many times to free himself, but none of his attempts were successful. At this point, he called out to his brother, Josh, who soon arrived and could only see John's legs. At first, Josh made light of the situation, but when he realized how serious it was, he panicked. Josh tried pulling John's legs several times, but that only made the situation worse, as John slipped even further into the narrow space. John, now stuck upside down and unable to move, needed professional help. However, There was no cell signal deep inside the cave, so Josh had to go back outside to call for help. About 3 hours later, the first rescue team, led by Susie Matola, arrived. She spent 2 hours trying to free John, but he was stuck much worse than they had expected. The space was so tight that Susie had to cut John's jeans to make just a little more room, but even that didn't help. Exhausted, Susie had to leave the cave. By now, John's wife, daughter, and 30 more rescue workers had arrived outside the cave, all brainstorming different ways to free John. One suggestion was even to amputate his legs, but eventually, they decided to use a rope and pulley system to pull him out. The challenge was to install the pulleys in such a way that they wouldn't collide with the cave walls, risking the collapse of the passage. While they were drilling the pulleys into place, some rocks slid down and fell on John. The rescue was slow and tedious. Only one worker could go into the narrow passage at a time. Meanwhile, outside the cave, over 100 rescue workers were now present, but they couldn't do anything to help. A doctor on the team added to the urgency by pointing out that John, being stuck upside down, only had about 10 hours left before his organs would start failing. The human body is designed to function upright, with the heart located in the upper part of the body. The heart pumps blood to the entire body, with about 80% of the blood flowing downward with the help of gravity. But because John was upside down, his heart had to work overtime to pump blood upwards, straining the organ. The doctor warned that this could lead to a heart attack at any moment. Knowing this, the rescue workers intensified their efforts to pull John out. After hours of waiting, the pulley system was finally installed, and John was pulled by his legs. But soon they encountered another problem. John's legs were in such a position that they couldn't bend, and as they pulled him, his feet would hit the cave ceiling. After a lot of effort, they managed to pull John out far enough that his face became visible. A rescue worker later said that John's eyes were red, but there was a moment of joy on his face. For the first time in 19 hours, John could finally see outside the narrow passage. However, just when they needed one final pull to free him completely, the pulley failed again, and John fell back into the same position where he had been stuck for the last 20 hours. By now, John was panicking, so they sent a two-way communication system inside the cave so he could talk to his wife and relax. This method worked, and John calmed down significantly. After 19 hours of relentless effort, the rescue team was ready for one final attempt to pull John out. This time, they had to be extremely careful, as every pull put enormous pressure on his legs. Finally, they managed to pull John out far enough that the rescue worker could see his face. But just as the rescue seemed within reach, another pulley slipped from the cave wall, and John was trapped once again. At this point, a brave paramedic was sent down to check John's pulse. Unfortunately, the worst was confirmed. John Jones was declared dead at 11:50 p.m. on November 25, 2009. His wife refused to believe that her husband had died because of such a small mistake. She hoped the pulse hadn't been checked properly and that John was still alive. But the truth was undeniable. John's body remained stuck in the cave for several days. Various plans were made to retrieve his body, including the idea of cutting it in half, but eventually it was decided to leave the body inside and permanently seal off Nutty Putty Cave, declaring it John's final resting place. Today, John Jones's body remains in Nutty Putty Cave, serving as a grim reminder of the dangers of cave exploration. A plaque has also been placed outside the cave in his memory. Thank you for watching another video Climax. Please like and share this video. Your supportive comments are greatly appreciated. See you in the next exciting video.